Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Interact podcast. I'm joined today by Sarah Goff-Dupont, who is a brand storyteller and has created just a bunch of really cool interactive content of all types, including on Interact. So I was just excited to have you on and chat with all of that stuff. So thanks for being here. I appreciate it.
Thanks. Yeah, I'm super excited to be here with you. Thanks for asking me.
Yeah, of course. Let's get right into it. Pick one of your favorites that you've worked on in terms of like interactive pieces and just tell us about it, and we'll just kind of jump off from there.
Sure. Okay. So the two favorite pieces of interactive content I've worked on, they're both they're both decision trees. One is a decision tree that I actually built out with the Interact platform, and we can see that in a second. The other is actually just a flow chart that I made a while ago. Shoot, I wish I would have pulled it up on my screen, but it was the title is "Do You Really Need to Hold a Meeting?"
Hmm.
And it was lighthearted, it was silly, it was funny, and it's interactive, and I would consider a flow chart interactive in the sense that people are like tracing their way down the tree. You hit an endpoint, you start over, and be like, oh well, what if I chose different pathways? So it's not interactive in the sense that somebody's clicking on something, but it sure keeps their attention for a while. And then the one that I built out with the Interact platform, like we could have made this a flow chart, but we wanted to try, kind of up in the ante a little bit. I'll share my screen if that's all right,
Yeah,
and
let's do it.
show
Let's
you the
get right
finished
into it.
product. All right,
Yeah, let's look at
do
like
it.
the actual example. And we'll try to do our best to talk through it for anybody who's just listening and not watching.
Totally.
This is we'll give a play by play.
Okay.
Yeah. So,
This is a landing page that I worked on with a terrific team of people at Atlassian. I was responsible for the web copy, and I had like a terrific designer working with me. And we had we conducted a piece of original research. As you can see on the page, we surveyed 5,000 knowledge workers, and it was all about meetings. And the goal of the page was to show people how they can have fewer meetings and regain some of their time. It's a fun page. The words are terrific. The copywriting is exquisite. So I highly recommend you check it out.
Hmm.
I'm not biased at all. Um,
that
but we
stat at
actually,
the top is really interesting, though. The number one barrier to productivity is
oh,
meetings, or number one. That really jumps out.
yeah, that was the number one thing cited by people. And it was one of those questions where like you could choose multiple. We gave them a list of like 8 things, like what's your,
Yeah.
what are your barriers to productivity, and you can choose as many as apply. And meetings was just like, yeah, far and away the number one.
Wow.
There's actually a lot of interesting stats on this page. So we did a few fun things. I mean, you can see like these little stars or, things animating as I'm scrolling down the page. There's a YouTube video that's embedded, which is like, that's sort of like interactive content 101, right? It's
Yep.
just embed a YouTube.
Old school
Totally
interactive
old school.
content is drop a video in there.
That's right. These I think you maybe saw the graph
Yeah.
there
Yep.
animate
Some
too.
little
Mosquito. I got it. Caught it right
nice.
out of the air. It's our state bird here in Minnesota.
Yeah,
Um,
this is totally random, but you know that mosquitoes are the most lethal animal?
right, because of like Zika and
Yeah,
what's
mosquitoes kill more people than any other animal.
malaria, is that the other one that they
Yeah,
carry?
like
Oh,
all those, so many diseases.
that's crazy.
Wild, right? And they were around with dinosaurs. Anyways, um,
I know. I know. Sometimes we like, could we just like nuke all the mosquitoes? And they're like, well, that would probably do something weird to the ecosystem that we wouldn't like. So, okay.
yeah,
Well, the
yeah,
mosquitoes
that
get,
is, it's a long
uh,
running debate.
yeah. Anyway, I before I get to the flowchart thingy, I wanted to
Yeah.
just point out this little piece of the page. So, the idea is giving people suggestions on how to say no to a meeting sort of more politely or perhaps more creatively. And there's there's a little bit of snarkiness running through here too. So what we did was our web team just created this little magical animation where if you hover over one of these cards, it'll turn over for you. So if you want you want to see what's the schedule savvy way to decline a meeting, you just hover over it and there's your
Hmm.
answer.
Hmm.
Or if you get outdoorsy.
Hmm.
So this I didn't come up with this idea. I can't take credit for it, but I thought it was a really fun way to just make the page a little bit more fun.
Yeah, I like this, and it highlights the fact that it doesn't need to be like this whole experience of, a journey of a quiz. It can just be something on the page that, you can click to reveal or hover to reveal, or, the stats load in, because interactivity is really just about getting the viewer of this page to engage with it so they stay longer. And
Absolutely. Yeah, and I mean, we were kind of talking before we hit the record button about how people so often kind of fall into the trap of thinking, oh, I want this big quiz, or I want, some sort of interactive tool. And maybe that is what you want. But I think sometimes, especially people who are newer to the field, um, get so excited about oh, I'm going to do a quiz. That's it. I'm going to do a quiz because I want to do a quiz. And maybe I even decide that I want to build a quiz before I decide what that quiz is going to be about, even. People get really excited about the format, the medium, and maybe lose sight a little bit of whether that's the right medium for their purpose. So I think it's really important to take a step back and be okay, do I really need something where people are pointing and clicking on an element of my page? Or do I really just need to keep people's attention on the page? And if the answer is I really just need to keep people's attention, there are a lot of different ways that you can do that. You can even do it. I'm actually going to pop over to a very old web page that I had to pull up the Wayback Machine
oh, this is
to get
awesome.
this.
Yes.
This is the original version of the Atlassian Team Playbook, which is a microsite that contains I don't know, probably 40 different workshops and exercises or practices that you can use in the course of your work. And so I did all the web copy for this, and at least for the original version of it for launch. And I probably continued writing the playbook for a few years after that. It's gone through many iterations since then. But one of the things that we wanted to do was we wanted to make the page really engaging. But this was kind of a scrappy skunkworks project a little bit. We weren't exactly highest on the priority list of our animators or web developers. So we were a little bit resource constrained. We were constrained rather, just in terms of the skills that we had amongst the people working on the project. So instead of doing a lot of flashy animation type stuff or things, point and click interactivity, we're let's just make the page interesting to look at. So the way that we tried to do that is we kind of drew inspiration from magazines and even from cookbooks a little bit, because what these pages are is really, it's kind of like a recipe for how to run this workshop or a recipe for how to do this type of user journey mapping or something like that. So you can see we've got this module here, which I don't think that's rendering correctly. But so we've got a module here, and then we've got, this each step by step as you scroll down the page, it's very visually separate. So we've got some call out boxes. And this one actually you can click on to bring up something. We've got another call out box that's not clickable. It's just showing an anti-pattern. So I just wanted to show that as an example of it's really not interactive content, but I think there's more than, as my grandpa used to say, there's more than one way to skin a cat. Sometimes, which is so gross.
I know. My grandpa said the same thing. I don't know. It was
Like,
that
Grandpa, you
generation.
like cats.
What the heck were you doing with cats back then?
I know. I think maybe it's a thing with people who grew up on farms. Maybe.
Maybe that's what it is. I don't know. I'm sure
I
there's
don't
some
know.
crazy origin to that.
We'll have to look it up afterwards.
Yeah.
But anyway, if you find yourself time constrained or resource constrained, like you can use different design elements can also help you accomplish your goal. So
Yeah,
I guess that's my main point is like I think it's really important to, before you start building out a quiz or a flow chart or anything, just step back and be like, okay, what are my goals for this piece of content? And um, and then from there, that might inform whether you build out that quiz or embed a video or do something else, you know?
yeah, and I could even see a situation where like it snowballs, where you start off with like a simple thing, and then you're like, oh, people want to do something else, and then you just additive, and you start somewhere simple instead of jumping straight to the end, because quiz
Mm-hmm.
is kind of the most complicated. I don't know if you've worked on anything that's like more complicated, but it's kind of the most complicated, I would say, out of like all the interactive elements you can do, because
Yeah,
you know
probably.
the mapping and the logic and all that stuff. And you got to think through everything with it, right? You can't just put one element. So I like what you're highlighting here, where it's like interactivity is almost like getting somebody to go on a journey versus, oh, it needs to be this whole thing that I build.
Yep. And, I don't want to scare people away from quizzes. And, it's not like they do take time, right? Like you
Mm-hmm.
do have to think through the logic and kind of double check it and maybe have a couple other people check your logic for, give you a gut
Mm-hmm.
check on it. And then you have to like build it all out in the tool and stuff. So it takes some time and some thought and some effort. But it's nothing that, like, I'm sure anybody who's listening to this podcast, like, hey, it's nothing you can't get the hang of. So, don't be scared of it. Just know that just make sure that you allocate the proper amount of time and energy for it. That's all.
Yeah, I just like what you were saying before, where it's like if you think that's what you have to get to, and then that ends up becoming a blocker for you because it's like, oh, I don't know how I'm going to turn this into a quiz.
Yes,
There are
yes.
other options, right? Like
Yeah.
there are other ways to get there.
Yeah. And what you were describing sounded suspiciously like agile practices. Putting out
Right?
a simple MVP and then
Yep.
see how people react to it. And then maybe
Hmm.
zhuzhing it up a little bit in a phase two.
Yeah, I actually am. I love that, like, kind of whatever you call it, like the meeting of worlds, where it's like it's not necessarily typical. Maybe in your experience it is, but it's not necessarily typical from the content side to be thinking about things that way.
Mm,
It's oftentimes, in my experience, it's like, oh, well, let's just build something, right? And just jump straight to a conclusion. But now it almost seems like content and product are like merging. It's like
mhm. Yeah.
interactive content is arguably closer to a product than to content. Like you're not just like writing some stuff. It's like it's more similar to a product, to me at least, than like sitting down and recording a video is, for example. So
Yeah, there might be something to that. Um, oh shoot, I was going to make another point. Oh, right. Plus the fact, like, hey, we're making content for the web. Like,
hmm,
it's not, we're not printing a magazine where
yeah,
it's one shot and you can never reprint this month's issue. You can never
right,
improve on the December issue. Um, but that's the beauty of web content is that you can go back and edit it and
yeah.
make it better without having to redo the whole ball of wax.
Yeah, and like you've got here on the screen, you can make it into something that utilizes the medium of the web more fully. Like a lot of the web could just be print, right? Like it's static.
Yeah.
Everything's just words on a page, which what's the differentiation between that and, just a magazine? Which magazines are great. So it's like, there's nothing wrong with that, but if you want to differentiate and stand out and be a little different, then actually utilizing the capabilities of a web browser, like with a piece of interactive content where someone can actually follow a journey that's like live in real time and be able to update it in whenever you need to, I think is really cool. Um, yeah, all right. Do you want to show us this quiz? Because I'm curious to like see
Sure, yeah. Sorry,
this.
sorry to everyone watching and listening. That was a really long lead up to showing you this this
No, that
the
was
thing
like
that I built out that was
absolutely necessary, because that is what we just talked through. I'm this kind of behind the curtains at Interact. That's almost every single conversation that I have with a client has to start
Yeah.
there. We usually sit there for 20 minutes, sometimes hours. Like it takes a very long time, I think, for folks to change their mindset to be
Hmm.
ready to do interactivity. So I actually really like how you explained all that, um, and put the context around it.
Cool. Well, great. Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so this tool I built out using the Interact platform, and in a minute we can pull the platform up, and I can take you guys give you a look under the hood here. Um, so the page that this is on is all about meetings, and it's, as I said before, the goal of this page is to help people figure out ways to spend less time in meetings and get more of that like focused time at your desk. And the way that we generally recommend getting rid of a meeting is replacing it with some kind of asynchronous work. Um, Whether that's like instead of okay, so I grew up in engineering, and I remember going to code reviews where we would sit in a conference room and the engineer would put their laptop projected up onto the screen. They'd pull up their IDE and we would like look at the code together line by line on the screen, right?
Ooh.
Nobody does that anymore because we can just do, everybody in that code review can just do it asynchronously from their desk, right? And just leave
Mm-hmm.
comments. So instead of like having a meeting to review a project proposal, you could just share that document around and have people review it asynchronously. Like that's a really simple example. So we kind of spec'd out all these different reasons or different goals that people have when they call a meeting, or like this is why you think you're calling the meeting. So I guess we could start there. So we found that these 6 reasons are what came up most commonly in the research that we conducted in terms of why people call meetings. So, okay, let's say that I need to make a decision and I need my team's input. So, okay.
Mm.
Have I shared background info, proposed solutions, and a clear question with decision makers? I'm really on the ball, so yes, I have.
Mm.
Can stakeholders make a decision based on this information? With the information I shared, heck yes, they can, because I was really complete. And it says, great, you don't need a meeting. All right.
Ah,
So then we can pop back to the top, or the beginning rather.
yeah.
And I could take you through that same scenario. No, I haven't shared any information with the people who I need to help me make this decision.
Mm.
Okay, well, this is the suggestion there. And I think that actually is another, like, you don't need a meeting. just
Yeah.
create just create a document and share it around, and then maybe you'll have to talk about it later.
Yeah.
So yeah, so you can just kind of cycle through these, rinse and repeat. I guess I'll stop there. But so each of these six things that you might want to accomplish with the meeting, then they all they have their own decision trees that branch off from that.
Yeah, and I
Um,
like, because what I'm seeing here and what you're saying is like this is based off of the research. Like, the top 6 reasons why people call a meeting, and then you have follow-up questions based on which one they choose to
yep.
determine, do you need a meeting or do you need to do something else first? Like, this one here, you have open collaboration time. Like, you just need time on the calendar for collaboration versus like we need a meeting, which I think is just really cool because it's like, yeah, there are a lot of reasons why someone would call a meeting. Maybe is it the majority that you actually don't need? Is there data on that?
Uh, well, I mean, whether or not you need a meeting for this or that reason, like this is all. I mean, this is very informed and highly researched opinion, but it's all. Somebody could argue uh, any of these points. Um, I think that in the decision, like in the tool, I would say over half of the paths um, lead you to some way to avoid a meeting, some other way that you can accomplish your goal besides pulling
Yeah.
10 people into a room.
Yeah.
And but there are absolutely some times when you do need to do that.
Yeah.
Um,
Would you mind pulling up the paths and showing us like
yeah,
how this works on the back? Because this is really pretty on the front end. What does it look like on the back end?
it's a little uglier, but we'll get there. All right, here it is. All right, so we're going to go into edit mode.
Yeah.
Okay. And then, so for people who are listening and not watching, so I'm in the edit mode of a quiz, and over on the left nav, I'm going to click questions.
Yeah.
And so you can see I've got all my questions specced out here. And then I'm using branching logic. So this is what it looks like under the
Yeah.
covers. So if we can so here we started that first one with, I wanted to make a decision. Have I
Hmm.
shared background info? Yes, I have. Can stakeholders make a decision based on the info? Yes, they can. And then we see the result down here. Can I expand
Yeah.
this? I don't know.
No, we don't have
Not
a way to expand it,
okay.
but
Okay. I don't want to go
um,
into edit mode. Um,
yeah, it's cool to see that path though. Like here you can see, how you set it up. And then when you're taking the quiz, right, you don't see any of this. You just answer like 3 questions and you get to an answer. But
yep.
you've been able to create how many unique results on here? It looks like at least 12 to 15.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
then it's like you answer
about a dozen.
3 questions and you get a unique result out of like 15, which if someone had to read through, like if this was static, right, it would probably be some version of like all the reasons why you don't need a meeting, maybe some catchy headline like that. And then it would be like a list, but the list would be 15 items long. And I mean, I don't have like hard data to show this, but the interactive is just more engaging for the user than like, oh, let me read through this list and see which ones apply to me. This
Yep.
is auto applying based on your unique situation. This is very cool. It's very cool.
Yeah, thank you. And I should say that, this is certainly the most complex interactive quiz that I have personally built out. I know that you could get even crazier than this. This is actually fairly tame, I think, in terms
Yeah,
of
it
like
does
the
get
use of
crazy.
branching
I
logic.
I've helped a couple people, brands and otherwise, where we get into like the hundreds on the results. It gets
Woo.
crazy. Yeah, you gotta have a big old external monitor for that.
Yeah,
Uh,
right.
uh, oh yeah, you can see all the results in
Yeah,
here.
yeah. I just wanted to flip back, and so yeah, you can
Yep.
see all of these unique results.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it gets granular.
But I like this.
Uh,
It's like it's just blocks, and like then you fit it together. So then the experience for each user is really seamless. Each visitor to that page, super seamless, super simple. And you've done the hard work on the back end of being like, okay, let me make sure I have all the paths figured out.
yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
that's really awesome.
you mentioned, I think I mentioned meetings flowchart that was static. Could I pull that up? And
Yeah, let's look at the static. I think
all right,
it's
I know
also a
I've got
good
it
example
on my
because,
computer
like,
somewhere.
sometimes, right, interactivity means something that's static on the page, but causes the user to follow with their eyes, right, or to follow with their, you hold your finger up to the screen and follow your pathway through the flowchart, because it doesn't always need to be as complex as doing the whole thing. And sometimes you do the whole thing in the interactive elements because that's fun and it's the best use case for the user. Ah, yeah,
Now you can see it.
very
I don't.
similar.
Yeah, and I created this. Gosh, probably 5 years before that interactive one. This was just me being like, um, we just wanted to have some fun content to like put up on social media,
Yep.
and I had this idea, and I I remember going to my kitchen table with like post-it notes and being like,
Yeah.
and like I like sort of drafted it using using
Yep.
posties,
Yep.
and then like translated that. I think I photographed it and like translated it to something really rough and then gave it to a designer. And I don't love everything about the use of color and like iconography, and
Mm,
sometimes we use red when the answer is don't call a meeting, and sometimes we use green. I don't know, whatever. It was a
yeah.
little inconsistent, but point being that like it's another way to just give people like something, give their brain something more to chew on.
Yeah. Yeah. And this, like, I mean, it's, you could almost pair this with the interactive version. I've seen people doing that a lot more, especially
Mm,
with like social first brands, like brands that grew up on social media. So,
yeah,
you know, they they'll have a website and a blog, but like that's not necessarily their primary real estate. Their primary real estate is Instagram or LinkedIn, and they'll post something like this, which is the static version, and then they'll use like an automation, ManyChat thing where it's like comment if you want to find out which one is yours, and then you can take the interactive one. So then they pair really nicely because this one
oh,
looks really nice.
that's cool.
Yeah, yeah. This is really cool. What if we shift over to like the simpler world of, the what people might think of when they think of interactive content, like a personality quiz or
Sure,
like
sure.
a simple assessment? Because I know you've done some of those that are really well
Yeah.
crafted, equally so, just a different like skill set, right? Because those are like, at least in my view, more copy heavy, where it's like if you're doing something that's simpler in functionality, then the words become even more important.
They can. I suppose maybe it would depend on the topic.
Yeah.
I will defer to you on that point because you've thought about that a lot more than I have.
Yeah, I think like if the concept is really simple, then you do have to differentiate a lot on how you're approaching it. And so that's why I like some of the ones you've worked on, because like they are relatively simple concepts, but they're approached in a way that's unique and obvious that you have the domain expertise. That's the thing. Like there's very little real estate for words on quizzes. And so if it's not completely dialed in, then there's no differentiation and then it won't work. But I think, the ones that you've made have done really well, or at least they come across really nice. So I'm curious to hear more about like a rather simple one that you've done that you can talk us
Sure.
through. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. So here we are on the Atlassian blog. And I should just mention, like, my entire content creation career was with Atlassian. I started as a
Yeah.
product marketer for them. And then I led the team that looked after the blogs and the microsites for a while. And then I decided I wanted to focus really more on writing than managing.
Mm.
So I sort of demoted myself and just spent my remaining, I don't know, 7 years there
Mm.
as principal writer.
Nice.
Um,
Yeah.
so that's why all you're seeing here is Atlassian stuff, you guys. Um,
It's
I
all very
I
well
left.
crafted.
I mean, I want to just step back and say how lucky I was to be at that company working with so many talented people. I mean, oh man, I had the best crew of people around me. It was so great. The designers are just top notch. Everything they do with color and imagery, I think, is so great.
Yeah, I mean,
Um,
as far as
so
like a content approach from a brand, like it's hard to argue that anybody really does it better. Like they do an excellent
yeah,
job.
I think they do an excellent.
I think you can make a strong argument that,
Oh, you would be surprised what we would talk about behind the
oh, in
scenes.
terms of like who you're
We're
up
like,
against.
yeah, we're like, oh my god, did you see what so and so did? Oh my god, I love that.
uh
Oh, we're so oh my god, we have to copy that. We're so inspired.
That's nice though. I like the competition. I think like, with social coming on, right? I think some of this stuff has kind of gone out of style for some brands, but I
Mm.
really like it when somebody truly invests in like their content wheelhouse. I think is awesome.
I mean, content is Atlassian essentially decided a long time ago to invest a lot more in content than in advertising.
Mm,
And what I mean by that is like, like banner ads, that kind of
yeah.
stuff. So the idea was, use SEO to and create really in-depth, good, meaningful, meaty content that people are searching for, and that's going to draw them to the website and or probably draw them to the blog, which then our job as people who contribute to the blog is to make the best first impression as we can.
Mm.
Um, and so, yeah, so, you come to the blog, you get a useful piece of information, and then probably 6 months go by before you even think about Atlassian again. And then you're searching for something else. And there's a result from Atlassian. Oh, cool. Yeah, well, I think I read a blog by them a few months ago. It was pretty good. I'll check them out. So our job with content was like to be kind of the tip of the spear and start building those relationships with prospective customers. And it was all about primarily long form content, although, then more into short form as more forms of social media kind of became more prevalent in, let's see, I started there in 2012. So TikTok wasn't even invented yet. Instagram had barely been bought by Meta. So there was some evolution in the content strategy to bring in like more social, do more with video. And the quizzes actually were very much like kind of wrapped up in that, because we didn't want everything to be like this giant wall of text, right? We don't want to assume that every time somebody searches for information and comes to us that they have 10 minutes to sit and read. What if they only have a little bit of time? Like, what are some like bite-size pieces of content that we can create that still gives them something valuable? And that was when we signed up with the Interact platform.
That's fascinating. That's like, yeah, we launched it publicly in 2013. So we were like right around the same time, and yeah, seeing a lot of the same things in terms of what you're talking through with content strategy. But I really like how you frame that, where it's like, it is the first impression. And the thought in my head as you're talking is like, if you want to hedge against AI, build yourself a brand where people purposely seek you out as a brand when they're looking for an answer, because if they're not, they can get the answer from ChatGPT. Like, they have to prefer to read it from you, and that's all about like the quality of that first impression.
Absolutely. And when you're thinking about what content to produce, I think especially now with AI, you talked about differentiation before. I think it is just like 10x more important than it was 3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah.
Because like whatever you're trying to talk about, whatever topic you're going to address, like I think it's really important to like go to the Googles and like Google search on it first, see what everybody else has written on that topic, now we can see what AI says on that topic. And you're like, okay, this is what people can already get. How can I make mine better? How can I make mine more interesting? What's a unique angle that I can take on this? So like, for example, I think I might have even made a quiz to go along with this. But we wanted to put a piece out that met the search. Sorry, the search term we were going through was like leadership styles. Yeah, that was it. It was leadership styles. A lot of competition in that space. And if you Google leadership styles, if you're watching this on YouTube, flip over, open a new tab, go Google leadership styles. You're going to see like, if you start reading the articles, it's like the same 5 or 7 leadership styles, and they kind of say the same things about them. So what we came up with was, we're going to talk about 9 leadership styles and the psychological underpinnings behind them, why they work or don't work. So that was our unique angle, was getting into the psychology aspect of leadership and leadership styles. And then I'm pretty sure that I did actually build a quiz along with that.
Yeah,
but that's what
I think
mean
I've taken this quiz that you made.
Yes, sweet. But that's what I mean about differentiation, right? Like ChatGPT can tell you like the 7 or 9 or 11, mosquito, 11, like, sort of like basic leadership styles and give you a basic description of them. But like, that's it. So like, you got to offer people something that they can't get from AI. And frankly, as content creators, we as humans have to be able to dream those things up. Else, what's to stop AI from replacing me?
Right. Yeah, something unique, something different to look at. Like you, I think that was a perfect example of what has to happen is you look at a topic, there's obvious demand in this area. What can I do that's different and utilizes my strengths as a writer, my strengths as a content producer, the strengths of the brand if I'm representing a brand or if it's my own brand, what is different that we can do based on who we are and what we know? Because yeah, otherwise you'll go on ChatGPT and it'll tell you the main leadership styles and
Yep,
what's differentiating you from that if you're going to do the same thing.
exactly. And
Hmm.
every time, like anytime you're differentiating yourself from kind of the norm, you are necessarily narrowing your audience a little bit. So,
Yeah.
like with ours, we shut out anybody who either doesn't really believe in psychology,
Yep.
or just isn't interested in it. So yeah, we probably scared a few people away with that headline. There are probably people who saw that headline in their Google search once we published the piece and thought, I don't really care about the psychological underpinnings. I just want to know I just want to know about the styles. Fine, that's totally fine. Um, I think it's I think it's better, and I don't have like data to back this up. I'm not sure anybody does, but
Hmm.
I really feel like it's better and more effective to say something meaningful to a slightly smaller audience than to say something meaningless to a big audience. It's like if you're
Yep.
trying to please, if you're trying to speak to everybody, you end up resonating with nobody because your
Yep.
message is too generic.
That's absolutely true on our platform, and we do have data to show that. Like
Mm,
the engagement
interesting.
rates are dramatically higher if you're going after something that's unique. And now that we can analyze content using AI, we can see like if you're basically just regurgitating the same average of whatever it is in this topic, like career type quizzes are really popular right now. Not sure
Okay.
why. Maybe something going on with the market, but like if
It's
you
the
were based
price. Good.
probably probably, but it's interesting because like people are not switching careers as much as they were a few years ago, and so I think in my mind I'm like I wonder why people are taking this career type quizzes to like find a new career when people are not actually switching that much. That's
Hmm.
why I think I find that fascinating. It's like it's
Interesting.
telling you what you should do, but you're not actually switching, so what's going on?
Maybe
Odd.
it just speaks to general sort of dissatisfaction with, I mean, frankly, a lot of jobs feel a little bit meaningless.
Yeah, maybe
But
that's what it is.
so I can see why like somebody might be sitting there at their desk at 3:20 in the afternoon being like, "Oh my God, like an hour and a half, I can make it." And being
Yeah.
like, what else could I be doing except this job? Oh, I'll
Mm,
take a career. Like maybe they're just kind of, maybe people are like feeling discontent and feeling like a little exploratory, but going back to school involves maybe student loans. It's not
mm,
really, oh boy, that's a big lift to like
mm.
reskill and do a career shift that way. So I don't know, maybe then the inertia takes over and they're like,
Yeah.
nah, I'm probably just going to keep my job.
Yeah. Maybe that is what it is, like a general malaise. But there's like there's literally thousands of these quizzes out there.
Mm,
And if you look at the average, right, which is you ask ChatGPT, hey, make a career type quiz. It's going to make something. It's going to have like general career types, just like you were saying with general, leadership styles. And it's going to give you questions that generally lead you there. The more differentiated from that mean you are, the better or worse it will perform. Meaning, if you're differentiated and it's not resonating, then it's going to go to zero basically. If you're differentiated and it is resonating with an audience, even if it's a smaller segment, their engagement and all the metrics go way, way up. So the worst
yep,
place to be is in the middle. The second best place is to be at zero because at least you know that it's not right and you can try something else. And then
yes,
the
that's
best
true.
place is like unique and also resonating with the people you're trying to resonate with. So yeah, we
Totally.
do have data on that one. That's a good point though.
All right. Well, if somebody could create a quiz, it's like, what's the best career? What are the best careers for somebody with a international relations degree uh, who doesn't want to be a lawyer. I would take that quiz. I'm still trying to figure out what I want to be when I grow up.
Aren't we all? Aren't we all?
Oh.
Uh,
Anyway, okay, so back to the quizzes here. So yeah, like I said,
yeah.
Atlassian really embraced quizzes as part of the content strategy, to the point where we actually built out this resources section, which
Mm,
houses quizzes, podcast episodes, and some of the
mm,
research, like the page that I showed earlier. I think that would be down in more guides and research.
mm.
Um, but so we'll just start here.
Yeah.
This is the quizzes page. I'm not sure that, yeah, not all Atlassian quizzes that have ever been created are on here, but I think, it's sort of a curated collection. They cover workplace topics, as you would expect from a company that makes team collaboration software. But this one I know is one that I built.
What's
Um,
your virtual meeting IQ? What was the like impetus for this one?
I believe it was connected with that same research that I showed
Mm,
earlier, the one about meetings.
yep.
Um,
Yep.
and so, a lot of the no, actually, well, I don't know if it was connected with that. I don't know if it was. Um, no, I think it was probably a different project. I bet it was maybe when we were launching, like when Atlassian acquired Loom, which
Mm,
is a video, like it's a video platform, also good for making interactive content, by the way.
yeah.
Um,
Loom is great.
I can't remember. Shoot, I can't remember exactly what the impetus was, but Atlassian makes, I mean, Atlassian makes collaboration software, so it's all virtual collaboration, right? It's
Yep.
it's wikis and project trackers and this kind of thing. So virtual meetings were like that's connected with the Atlassian business. So I'm sure that
Yep.
there was probably a blog that I wrote that housed this, but uh,
Yeah.
when I left, I counted up the number of blogs that I'd written, and I think there were 258 that had my name on them, and that does not
Whoa.
count all the stuff I ghost wrote for people. So,
Whoa.
so over the 12 years, I produced a lot of stuff. I don't remember everything that I wrote.
That's impressive. That's very impressive.
Well, when that's the sole focus of your job, it happens pretty
Yeah.
quickly.
Yeah. No, yeah. I mean, just back to the investment in content, though. It's like that's like an asset, right? Like that is a tangible asset that you have after those 12 years versus like if you're doing media spend with banner ads, there's no asset. Like
Exactly.
there's one banner ad.
Yeah, it's kind of like the difference between renting and purchasing your home.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
That's a great analogy. I'm gonna use that.
Sweet. Why not? So I definitely remember building this quiz.
Yeah, yeah.
So inside of it, well, let's just go
Oh,
through 9 questions. We can make through 9 questions here.
yeah, yeah. It's testing you on like whether or not you understand when to use meetings and not use meetings.
Well, this one, I mean, the first question is, speaks to that. But if I recall this, the next question, the subsequent questions get into sort of like what's the best way to conduct, like to run a virtual meeting, how to
Mm,
conduct yourself. We probably have a question in there about like interrupting people or something like
mm,
that. So
I see, I see.
but we also tried to make it fun. And fortunately for me, Atlassian is a brand that where it's okay to have fun in the content. So I'm going to
Yeah,
select the option about eating donuts and while wearing sweatpants.
that's
That I
awesome.
think actually is a great reason to call a virtual meeting.
It is a good reason.
When should I include an agenda? Really ought to include agenda.
Always.
Always. Which type of lighting is best? A lamp positioned behind you. That's perfect if you want to look at the cigarette smoking man from the X Files.
Yeah, yeah. Just like a person
But no,
just
the best answer is probably it doesn't matter. Just make sure the light source
yeah, as
is
long as you
shining onto
have
you, right?
can see you. Yeah. Yeah. That's actually an important one.
Yep. Um, that one is it's another like that's up for debate, I suppose. But
Yeah.
the Atlassian line, and I agree with this, is that even if you're in the same building, if one person is calling in remote, everybody is calling in virtual because it
Yep.
levels the playing field in terms of like being able to participate and kind of get a word in and stuff.
Yeah. it's hard to do like a mix, and two people in a room talking on a virtual, it's just like it's too complicated. I'm
Speaking of
noticing.
participation, if
Yeah,
you're meeting, maybe try to pull them into the conversation. Yes, you
just
should
start
definitely
talking
just
over the
start
person
talking
speaking.
over.
That's absolutely the right answer. That's how we maximize productivity over here.
That's right. So the way that this one is set up is like you get like 0 points for like the really bad answer, or like an
Yeah,
obviously bad answer, like 1 point for a reasonable answer, and 2 points for like the best answer. I can't remember which one we actually
these
uh
questions are
set
good
here.
though. Like they are, they are like actual scenarios that everybody taking this, I'm sure, is like, oh yeah, I know this situation. Like,
Yeah. And
there's no like, I don't know what you're talking about.
um this one was not based on like original research that we did. It was very much just our own experience. So
Yeah, yeah,
which I think actually to your point, um, maybe that does help people, like help the content resonate with people, because it's just I'm not an organizational psychologist. I don't have an MBA,
right.
so like why would I, my only claim to being an authority on meetings is that I've been attending them for 25 years. So,
Right. But that's like, it's
but
so
that's okay.
interesting how it all dovetails, because I've interviewed organizational psychologists on this show, and we have many who are customers, and it kind of dovetails into the same thing. It's like experience or research kind of gets you to the same place.
Look, look how good we are. We scored a 14
Hey,
masters.
all right.
And then I think,
Savvy virtual collaborator.
woo,
Oh, and then you got it linked to like a larger piece.
yep. Of course, we can
Nice.
share the
You can
results,
share
which
your results.
none of our people ever do. I don't know if this, maybe this is a thing with B2B brands, like, but like
Hmm.
I wouldn't share a B2B brands quiz either. Like, no offense to the quiz making
Yeah.
background, but I probably I would guess that like B2C brands have a lot higher engagement with the share your results on social.
Yeah, honestly, I debate it all the time. Like, even if I'm advising a client, sometimes we'll go back and forth on whether to include it. And then you'll find just the most unexpected subset of people is sharing the results. And you're like, okay, well, I guess it works. I didn't think people still did that, but they do. And it gets you, some sort of bump, which
Yeah,
I always find fascinating, because I'm like, it seems to me that more people will just copy this URL and throw it in like a DM to their friend versus sharing, but there
right.
are still some people that do it, which is why we leave it in there, even though every year we're like, do we still need this?
Yeah. Well, and that exactly, right? Like especially something like this, not all of my friends are working jobs that where virtual meetings are even a thing, right? Like my teacher
Right,
friends don't really do a lot of virtual meetings. So like
right.
sharing it out on social, just broadcasting it out on social, um, it's maybe not the way I would go. Like I would copy the link and then
Yep,
email it to specific people,
yep.
which
Yeah,
is something that we can't really capture in our metrics, but that's okay. And like kind of like you say, we're just like, who knows who's going to share this? Like, let's just,
I
it
know.
doesn't have it on there. It's fine.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, and I think it kind of subtly signals to people like, hey, this is a fun thing. This is
yeah,
not like a diagnosis. Don't take it too personally if like you
right,
got a really
right.
low score. Like, kind of adds to the like lightheartedness of it. We're just trying to have some fun here.
Yep. So in the
Yeah.
but in this case, we wanted to lead people off to a larger piece of
Yeah.
content. Um,
Hmm.
which I really like the headline on this one.
Oh, that's a good headline.
Yeah. But
Wow.
anyway, so yeah, that's a
Yeah.
simpler one that we've
I
done.
like that. It's like, and I think that's a different use case, right? It's like you're using it to drive into a longer form piece, because if somebody's done something that's going to tell them their personal score or their personal personality, they're probably more likely. I mean, there is statistics to show that they are more likely to then read a longer piece and continue educating themselves. And so I like that use case as like it's like a warm up. It's like,
Yeah,
let's get you excited to learn about this instead of it
totally.
just being like, here's a topic.
And I think, even backing up from that, I believe what we did, part of the way that sorry, I just want to make sure I have my facts or my memory straight as possible. Okay, so no, we had the quiz. Um, I suspect that it was embedded. I'm pretty sure it was embedded into a separate blog.
Mm,
Um, so I think what we would have done, I think the way we did this was we posted the quiz on social, and
mm.
then the you would, I think you could actually take the. Can you take the quiz like right there within LinkedIn or Facebook?
Not within a post, but you can link directly
Oh,
to it so that
okay.
it just then it would pop up in like the native Facebook browser if you do it that
Okay.
way.
Hmm. All right. I was thinking that maybe we did a thing where like we posted the quiz, which then led to a blog post that had the quiz embedded within it. Oh, but you know
Yeah,
what?
that would make sense.
Yeah. Well, this one here, this one about toxic workplace culture, I know that
Yeah.
one is embedded within a blog. So if you can't take the quiz within the social post, probably what we did was maybe took a screenshot or something
Mm-hmm.
like that from the
Yep.
quiz, like to help draw people in.
Yep. Yeah. And then
Um,
it goes to the blog post where the quiz is just inside the content
yeah,
that
exactly.
it's helping drive engagement on, which I think is super cool. It's like it's just a way of it's a very lightweight way of adding that interactivity.
I'm pretty sure
I
it's
think
in
I've
here.
seen this one. Conditioning
Yeah.
of a toxic. Oh yeah, there we go.
Yep.
Blog with the
Yep.
quiz embedded right in it, and then there's more
And then
content,
and that leads you
and that
to,
leads to another
yep,
content.
another one. It's just all daisy chained together.
Yeah, which like it takes you down. I mean, speaking kind of circling it back to where we started, it's like it's a journey. It's guiding people through a journey, which you know, as a storyteller, I'm sure that's like very thoughtful on your front, where it's like a journey is a story. It's just it's your story, and you get to like infuse your own story into how you navigate through each piece of this content, which parts you want, which parts you don't want, and then the interactivity just helps with that. It's just like it's like a tool on the pathway um, versus like this
Absolutely.
big bad scary thing you got to figure out.
Right. Right. It's just a
Yeah,
link in the chain, just a piece of the puzzle.
yeah,
But I will
yeah.
say a really, really fun piece of the puzzle.
Yeah, I agree. And like I love seeing like I mean just the ways that you've highlighted here of using it is, it runs the gambit, like there's different implementations, there's different ways of using it just to make it a fun experience for the people that are engaging, a fun experience when you're building it. I think that really carries through. Like if it just feels like, oh, I got to write another piece on this topic, like I think that really people can feel that versus if you really had a good time and you write the questions and throw some humor in there, you write the results, you throw some humor in there, or whatever the style is, that carries through too in a positive way. So I like all these examples. Thanks for sharing it all with us.
Yeah, no worries. No worries.
So I think this is a good place to wrap. I think we've looked at some really cool implementations. Thanks for taking us through that whole journey and
Welcome.
highlighting like the different ways of thinking about it, because that's super helpful. I learned a lot today, so very much appreciate it. If anybody wants to follow along with the work that you're putting out and the work that you do today, like where's your home on the web?
Uh, I left Atlassian a little over a year ago, and I still am transitioned to freelancing part time. But truth be told, like I mostly left so that I can spend more time with my kids. They're in middle school and high school now, and
Hmm.
um, the real goal was to have time to be with them. But I still freelance a little bit. I write.
Hmm.
I do write for Atlassian still. So if you go to atlassian.com/blog, you can find a whole lot of stuff from Sarah.
Nice.
I also have been working with a company called Instabase. They're an
Hmm.
AI company that does, it's called document understanding. So,
Hmm.
like, had a document like an invoice that has like some type stuff. It's got handwritten bits. It's got a signature down at the bottom. Like, how do you, like, their product will basically digitize that in a way that AI can actually like reason and logic on.
Hmm.
Um, so it's kind of interesting. So I've been working with them and producing some blogs and some like white papers with them, but I don't think they have my name on them. But you could go
Hmm.
to instantbase.com and just, if you're interested in AI powered document understanding, there's a bunch
Yeah.
of resources there for you.
That's cool. That's cool. Awesome. Well, thanks so much, Sarah. Like this truly, I think, was a learning experience for everybody listening. So we appreciate you
I'm so
sharing all
glad.
that wisdom. Yeah,
I am delighted to share what I know, and I hopefully it was useful to somebody.
definitely useful. Definitely useful. Thank you.
All right. Well, thanks a bunch, Josh. This has been super fun.
Yeah, likewise. Likewise.
All right.